This Land Cruiser's been in my family for 20 years. Now, the 80 series Toyota Land Cruiser is a Focus truck. Focus cars are usually the most fun cars, and those are the only kind of cars that I own. It's really wonderful that Toyota even brought this truck to the US because it's so purpose-built. Now, unfortunately, the time for me has come to sell this truck because I'm spending all my time at the racetrack these days. But I figured I'd make this video before I delivered it to the buyer tomorrow. In the 80 series, two-wheel drive is not a choice. Full-time four-wheel drive is a way of life. With the 2-speed transfer case and the optional differential locks, this truck plows through difficult terrain like our government through tax dollars. If you were using this truck to get to work, you might realize that the truck doesn't make any sense because the gas mileage is terrible. But when the weekend comes around, you can forgive it for its thirsty nature and enjoy the truck out on the trail, whether you go camping or off-roading or whatever your thing is. The best highway mile per gallon that I've ever recorded with the truck was 17 miles per gallon on a trip from Merced to LA. More commonly, I saw 16, but when I loaded down the truck, I would get 14. When I lifted the truck, the fuel economy went down. Every time you upgrade the 80 series, you can expect this figure to decrease. With new bumpers comes more weight. With bigger tires comes more rotational inertia, friction, and wind resistance, and so on and so forth. The true purpose of the Toyota Land Cruiser is overland expedition. The truck was built to run forever. However, it is important to note that the last 80 series model year in the US was 1997. Now that 20 years have gone by, it's very difficult to find one that's been maintained to the level required in the factory service manual. I think many owners in America don't even realize that you need to grease the prop shafts. They probably don't even know what a Burfield joint is. In a sense, this nearly indestructible nature of this truck becomes its downfall due to the neglected preventative maintenance by owners. Because of this, there is a large price discrepancy now in used models. And I think this is because here, there's the typical attitude, if it isn't broken, don't fix it. And the Land Cruiser sort of requires a heavy level of preventative maintenance to keep it up and running correctly. I like to place myself on the maintenance side of things because breakdowns are not fun, and they can be very expensive if you're in the middle of nowhere, especially with this truck. Now, some common problems to look into on older trucks are seeping knuckles, neglected cooling systems, and of course the heater hose failure. That's a big deal. The fixes for these issues are inexpensive if caught early, but they can be catastrophic if left neglected. The knuckle service is very labor intensive. If you do it wrong, you're going to be going in there and doing it again. The Burfield joints run about $800 at the dealer. If you neglect your cooling system, it can lead to a head gasket failure. But that's typical. So it goes. A very important note for those who own this car is do not run the Marlin Crawler axle seals. They do not seal. You will find the Burfield grease seeping into your axle and contaminating your fluid. Stick to the Toyota axle seals. They work really great. Now, the Land Cruiser is also notorious for inadequate brakes. If safety is a priority to you, put some high-temp brake fluid in and some decent heavy-duty pads, and the truck will stop fairly well. If you intend to tow something, you will thank yourself for the upgrades when you have to slow down on a steep descent. The brakes in this truck have faded even in stock form, just coming down from the mountains. Because the truck features a front and rear solid axle and a suspension that is geared toward off-road adventures, another important upgrade to me was suspension with adjustable damping. The adjustable damping allows me to stiffen it up for the highway and when I tow something, and then I can soften up when I go hit the dirt. With a couple clicks of the dials, I can change the entire behavior of the truck. It's still not a sports car, but it's much better. By today's standards, the Land Cruiser would be considered underpowered. We can raise the shift points of the transmission by pushing the ECT button. This stands for electronically controlled transmission. We can advance the timing a bit to make it feel a little more peppy. So you can get away with advancing it a few degrees, and it really wakes up the car and also helps out with fuel economy. Let's do an acceleration test. Brake torque for a nice launch. It's a rocket. 40 miles an hour. Now, acceleration is obviously not its strong point. However, when you consider the purpose-built features, it can be overlooked. The switch panel operates with industrial precision. The air conditioning in the 80 series is so cold that if you leave it on too long, it can make your nipples hard enough to cut diamonds. Look underneath, and we have a fully boxed frame. The drivetrain looks like it was stolen from a heavy-duty truck. The axles feature differential breathers. The large wheel wells can fit 35-inch tires without a fuss. Even the antenna is height adjustable. If you're going through brush and fear antenna damage, you can just lower it. And that's just scratching the surface. Over-engineered and professional would be the proper way to describe the 80 series. Despite its large size, the Land Cruiser can get you to remote locations with comfort and uncompromised reliability. If you can afford the gas, and you can find a well-cared-for example, the Land Cruiser may be the best expedition vehicle you will ever own.